All right. Hi, Sam. Thank you for logging on. Would you just share how you found out you were donor conceived?
Hi. Actually, let me start a little bit earlier. Um, so I was born in 1994 and to my mom and my dad. And my dad and my mother separated when I was like 2 years old. And my mother got remarried to my stepfather. And then my father died when I was 6 years old. And my mom told me that he died of cancer. And now, when I was 13, I was going through a really hard time and I attempted suicide. And I was in a mental institution. And then apparently, the doctors there asked my mother, is there any family history or stuff like that? And my mother told the doctors, oh, well, I don't know from the paternal side because Sam is donor conceived. And the doctors were like, what? You need to tell your child this. So when I came home on the weekend, my mom sat me down and she was like, your father didn't actually die of cancer. He committed suicide. But by the way, he wasn't even your real father because your donor conceived. So it was like a
Mm-hmm.
total mind blow at the time. But actually, looking back, I'm really grateful because I had so much help talking to all those therapists and like now talking to other donor conceived people that only found out much later. I had much more time to deal with it and incorporate it in my personality.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you for sharing that. Um, so
Yeah.
how now do you feel about being donor conceived? What are your kind of thoughts about it?
Um, I have a lot of thoughts. I think I have gone through like various different phases. When I first found out, I was like asking my mom questions about it and like slightly curious, but she was very much, no, I don't want to talk about this. You will never find anything. So I kind of gave up on it for a really long time. And then only a couple of years ago, like in my 20s already, I was like, no, actually, I want to find out more. And it's always like been in the back of my mind.
Right.
And then now I started really engaging with it and feeling the pain. And I was really angry at my mom. Um, but I think, yeah, we talked a lot about it. Not that she wanted, but I really needed to. And it helped me so much. And now I've also found my donor, my genetic father, and my several half siblings. And that is actually like a really good thing to have in my life, especially the half siblings that I've connected with. They're such amazing people, and I feel so much richer for knowing them.
Mm. So what is your relationship with your donor? Do you have a lot of contact? Have you met?
So I was conceived in Germany, but I live in South Africa. So all my relatives, um, donor on the donor side and on my mother's side, are in Germany. So thanks to COVID, I haven't met anyone.
Oh,
Um, but I have talked on the phone, and I had like a Zoom call as well with my genetic father, several ones actually.
mhm.
Um, and it's really cute because like I've been interested in birds all my life. Like when I was 10 years old, I was watching the birds in the trees and I was learning the Latin names
Mhm.
in all the bird books. And nobody ever in my family was interested in that. And turns out he does bird watching as a hobby.
Oh, that's
So we have like lots of little things we can chat about. Um,
yeah,
yeah.
that's awesome. So, how do you feel about your donor siblings? Is that maybe something that's like helped you along in this journey, among other things as well?
Yeah. So there is one the one that I met first, and we are like so similar, and we are really close. Like I think we talk on the phone a couple of times per week.
Oh,
Um, so that's really awesome. And there are a couple of other ones that I also talk to. But so I assume that I have a lot of siblings because I already know of 16.
wow.
And considering that most donor conceived people will never know they're donor conceived, I assume that we're maybe like 5 or maximum 10% of the total number. So maybe like 200 or 300 in total.
Wow.
So there's really no way that I could ever know all of them. And that is very upsetting to me. And also, of course, every donor conceived person has the right to be like, I don't want any contact with my half siblings because we didn't choose it. But regardless, it's just hard for me to like find out about this person, and then I'm like excited and I would like to know more about them, and they're like, no, actually this is too painful for me. So you never know. And with like that many potential siblings, there could always be another one popping up, and I have to be ready and like keep my emotions in check so I don't get disappointed.
Yeah, it is difficult to manage those emotions. Like it's exciting when you see like another one pop up, but then it's also, oh my gosh, like here's another person that I'm somehow genetically connected to, and how do I create this relation? It's very difficult. Like a lot of anxiety.
And it's getting more and more difficult because we're already so many.
Yes.
And now, for anyone who comes new into the group, obviously they're not going to start a relationship with 16 people. I mean, like even 5 people is a lot.
It is.
So then they have to pick a few to get to know.
Yeah.
And then whoever doesn't get picked can feel jealous or
yeah, it's very difficult. And I think a lot of these things are we don't really talk about either. And like the donor groups, I haven't seen a lot of conversation around that. So you brought up a really good point. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's just a problem in general with like a lot of people coming together in one group without a boss. Yes. Because we're all equals and we're not gonna vote a president of our sibling group or something.
Right. It is really difficult to manage that. Definitely, I agree.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else that you want to share about being donor conceived, about our community?
So another thing that has been difficult for me is that I'm lesbian. So I have a lot of queer friends, and then obviously a lot of queer people are interested in using donor conception to have children. And I think there's not enough talk about like between the two communities, because like from donor conceived people, I've gotten some negative feedback sometimes, and then from queer people, actually some people have told me that I'm queerphobic, because I think that they should put the rights of their child first. So that has been difficult for me.
So when sorry.
No, go ahead.
When you say put the rights of the child first, what do you mean by that?
So I strongly feel that if someone decides to have a donor conceived child, the child must know the truth, and which is a given for queer people, but then that you must choose a known donor and help your child to know their ancestry, and that you must also accept that it is actually three parents for the child. And that I feel like my parents didn't give me the right to choose to say, no, this is actually my genetic parent. They just dismissed it. And I think that is a thing that can happen to queer and straight people. But yeah, I don't know.
No, I completely do.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and so for myself, although being lesbian, I don't think I would ever want to have a donor conceived child. I know there are other people that are donor conceived and have a donor conceived child, but for me it's just so much trauma, and I wouldn't want to put anyone else through it. So I think it's about being able to listen to criticism and question oneself.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing, Sam.